This is kind of a warm season to be coming back here, isn't it?
Phoenix is, I'm getting to like Phoenix. And since I have brought the home out here, I like Phoenix in some seasons of the year better than I like Chicago. And there's nothing for me to do but to go home. So this is my home.
Very good. Which would you call your real home, Chicago or Phoenix now?
Well, either one is my real home.
Your home wherever you are.
Either one is my real home. As there's an old saying, go everywhere I hang my head is my home, sweet home.
You have been discussed quite a bit in the news lately, ever since your organization's convention in Chicago several weeks ago. Since the death of Malcolm X, have you encountered any serious trouble, or do you expect any serious trouble?
I have not encountered any serious trouble, and I don't expect to encounter with any serious trouble from Malcolm's death.
Do you?
This death of Malcolm, God himself had something to do with that. And I think the people will learn that this was some work of God himself.
Do you feel possibly something that Malcolm brought on himself then?
Well, he did bring all of it on himself. If he had stayed with us, following me, he would not have been dead today. He would have been a living man today. I believe Malcolm knew these things. But in fact about it, he being all fired for self. And as all jealous leaders meet with some such kind of fate one day or another. And so he was all fired for going for himself, as he said. And going contrary to the truth by telling other than the truth, it don't bring a person to no good end. So Malcolm met with just what he preached.
You feel then possibly he was more interested in serving his own interests than a cause?
Well, I believe that he really wanted to be that which God had not made him to be.
The period since your organization's gathering in Chicago, a great deal has happened, both in regard to your organization and a great many racial organizations. A lot of segregationists nowadays, including the Ku Klux Klan, say that organizations like the NAACP and CORE are filled with communists. What do you think of this charge? Have you an opinion on this?
I don't know anything about communists. I never was one myself. Don't expect to be one. And therefore I can't say anything about another man's belief. And even his practice, if it's something other than what I have. I can't say anything about it unless it involves or clashes with the truth. Then I goes to work to try to defend that truth that I believe in and that I preach. And as far as the segregation and the Ku Klux Klan preachings, teachings, they are an old organization that has been, according to history, they dates way back. And they're still here. Whether the government liked them or not, I have nothing to do with that. But I know I cannot be classified as one myself. I'm not a Ku Klux Klan myself. And segregation, I don't believe in segregation. I think that according to prophesied scripture which we have with us in Bible and Quran, I think, excuse me, I think we are at a time of complete separation. We cannot expect to live here with you and look for you to support us after you have educated us enough, or rather given to us enough education to do something for ourselves. And as the world is narrowing, as the world knows, it's getting a little narrower and narrower. And I think every nation should look forward for itself to try to hang on a piece of this old world in the sun, and not to be fighting and quarreling with each other all the time over the other spot.
Within themselves or among
yes,
themselves?
Within and among themselves, I don't think it's necessary. If we would do just a bit of justice and just say, you are justified to live in the sun here somewhere on the earth, and I will help you to try to get a place somewhere where you can live in the sun. As others, and that's banish all argument, dissatisfaction, disagreement, and evil thinkings of nations. If we would be let alone by doing the thing that is right, every nation go to its own, as is predicted in the Bible, that the time that will come that God will force all nations to go to their own. And I don't think that time is too far distant. And so the so-called American Negro, which are really the lost and found members of the Nation of Islam, the religion of God, which means entire submission to His will, who has been here for 400 years, serving the white man of America well. And now he has become to think in terms of the white man's thinking. He thinks now that he should be part of the white man. He should be, he should share equally in everything the white man has. This kind of ideal brings us to a very serious, I would say, point. It is bound to bring on bloodshed and death. If such thinkings are carried into practice, are forced into practice, it only will mean the slaughter of each other. Because this can't be done like that. We originally didn't have nothing in America, not even our shadow. And I think we should move forward and trying to get ourselves placed back with on ether somewhere on this earth where we can be alone to ourselves, build whatever civilization we want to build. Let it be free for us to build that type of civilization. If it's digging holes on hillsides, or if it's making mud houses in some sluice or some muddy pond. Whatever we like, we should be let alone and do that. And this stops all of this dissatisfaction, death dealing with each other, which is going to end up in a wholesale world thing.
You see no other course but that?
I don't see no other course but a whole entire world slaughter of man.
Which is a horrible thing to think about.
It is a horrible thing to think of it, but I do have prophets' predictions that such thing could take place and will take place if we pursue the course that we are pursuing now. 22 million so-called American Negroes who originally was brought into the Western Hemisphere by the white man to do his service and not to do our service. They have served that time out, and now it is no need for the white man nor for the so-called Negro to sit down at no such thing as a conference table to try to bring up some kind of agreement to live together and share together whatever is here. There's about 9 white men out of 10 that will not agree with no such agreement that the Negroes share equally with them, nor even have any social equality with them.
Do you feel there are that many who would feel that way?
I believe there's 9 out of 10, practically. If you can get 100 out of every 1,000 that will agree as this kind of a thing. What I mean by this kind of a thing, the government trying to force the Negro into his society and the Negro trying to force himself in the white man's society. This don't mean nothing but a revolution. You're not going to stand for a lot of that yourself. I would not want it, my number one. Let the nation look at each other as the nation and the fundamentals of the nation that they are involved with. Number two, let us deal with each other on the basis of justice and truth. Truth and justice, if carried into practice, could settle the whole conflicting world today.
Do you feel there's not much chance of justice or truth triumphing?
None but defeat of the civilized world. Justice and truth is the last thing to resort to or use whenever they has exhausted every means that they have of their own corrupted ideals for peace. Then they probably will turn to justice. That is, if any be left.
They will, as a last resort, turn to that which they should have turned first. Then.
At first, and then it would have saved rivers of blood.
May I ask a couple of other questions slightly off the subject now? In relation to Phoenix again, while you were in Chicago, I understand some shots were fired into your home by apparently someone who does disagree with you. How do you feel about that kind of thing? Does it bother you?
That does not worry me at all. These things could be aimed at my head for as that concerned. I don't expect anything like total friendship, but I do expect men of education, men of civilization, men of reason science, men of truth and understanding of truth, that they should not be classified with no such acts themselves.
You feel men of truth or honor would not do this kind of thing?
They will not do such things. This is savagery. To have any home shot at or bombed in civilized America today with her fine institutions of learning throughout the country and educating and civilizing people in foreign countries. For such thing to happen, it is disgrace.
I think most people would agree with that. Don't you find that so, that most people would share that view at least?
I think all civilized men will.
The problems in America over the past few years have resulted in things like the problems in Selma, Alabama, Montgomery, all through the South. Do you feel that these incidents accomplish anything?
I don't see where they have accomplished anything but the fights that they have.
Getting people hurt.
Getting people hurt and disgraced. That's the only thing that I can see in such movements as going, marching on people and trying to force yourself. The base of it is forcing yourself on people that you're not wanted. And in such way that no one would accept you in that way of forcing or even appealing for. I think the so-called American Negro, who is my brother and I'm part of him, I think we should first do this. After being enslaved for the last 300 or 400 years, I think we should prepare ourselves and be fitted, qualified as people to accept us as their equal or to accept us as a member of their society. I think we should qualify for such place first. That means cleaning up ourselves internally and externally as well.
Do you feel that if there's any such thing, the average American Negro, if there's any such thing as an average, do you think that he wants to do this, or do you think he feels like maybe he's defeated and there's no use trying?
Well, I must go back here to Ezekiel and the Bible of the dry bone, which represents our people as we are. It said their hopes was lost and that they was cut off from their part. I think that is very true if we look at that prophesy, and that they actually feels hopeless. And they know no place but the place that they was born in and has been in and felt crushed as a crushed people. And they begin to realize that they has been crushed and is still held as a crushed people.
Do you feel that, excuse me, sir, since we're nearly out of film again, do you feel that your organization is taking steps or can take steps to help eliminate or solve this situation, the feeling of hopelessness?
We are absolutely doing just that. I don't think we should use the word that do you think, but I have examples excuse me, for the world. And these men that follow me and women's, children's, and I have an example of work there that the world can judge for what I'm teaching and what I'm trying to do for this people. And once they would obey and do as I am teaching them to do, I don't think you nor any other foreign nation would feel ashamed to say there stands a citizen of mine, or here stands a people that came up from my fathers, and look at them today. There are lots of difference in them and 100 years ago.
What do you see then? Do you see a lot of this kind of progress then in the years ahead? Do you think this is becoming
I believe
realized?
that it will continue to progress until it becomes a complete success among our people. And if they just be let alone, while a man is trying to do well, as the old saying go, let well do. Since that the teaching that I am giving to these people in the qualification of kindness and of not only body and soul, as they go to say, but even of mind and intellect of these people is being changed completely. So no more the same. They want now to be something.
They're changed as a result of the teaching.
Of the teaching, the result of the teaching.
Sir? Yeah, now he is.
As I was saying, that the so-called American Negro, the qualification in words necessary for him to become a member of the civilized nation's society, not only here but elsewhere, he must be qualified for such. No teachers ever cared to lose the time, or take the time, I should say first, to try and qualify him to put this man in the society of the nation. They all have felt very happy to see him in the mud and remain there. And the oppositions today, they just him washing himself out of the mud of filth of a civilized people. He absolutely don't have too much freedom for it now. But
Still difficult.
yes, but he still is now yearning for such. Once he see an example of it, his nature goes for it. Because by nature, that is what he is. But lost from it for 400 years, he don't know how to go and apply himself to it or gain his place alone. He have to have help. And there's no one want to take that job now since he's so far gone. They consider he's just mentally dead. No way of even putting him back where he was, nor even to make him a modern member of society. They think the job is too tremendous.
then you then, sir, would be offering, shall we say, hope in a situation that has been at best difficult. Does this bring you a great many followers? Is what you say well received?
In what I have said, it have attractions upon my people. Mm-hmm. And it's like a man that has lost his purse down the street a couple of days ago, and he has forgotten all about never owning it again. Someone walks up to him.
We cannot be aggressive people with...
Ever since your organization's convention in Chicago several weeks ago, since the death of Malcolm X, have you encountered any serious trouble, or do you expect any serious trouble?
I have not encountered any serious trouble, and I don't expect to encounter with any serious trouble from Malcolm's death.
Do you...
His death of Malcolm, God himself had something to do with that. And I think the people will learn that this was some work of God himself.
Do you feel possibly something that Malcolm brought on himself then?
Well, he did bring all of it on himself. If he had stayed with us, following me, he would not have been dead today. He would have been a living man today. I believe Malcolm knew these things. But in fact about it, he being all fired for self. And as all jealous leaders meet with some such kind of fate one day or another. And so he was all fired for going for himself, as he said. And going contrary to the truth by telling other than the truth, it don't bring a person to no good end. So Malcolm met with just what he preached.
You feel that this is kind of the warm season to be coming back here?
Phoenix is, I'm beginning to like Phoenix. And since I have brought the home out here, I like Phoenix and some seasons of the year better than I like Chicago. And there's nothing for me to do but to go home. So this is my home.
Very good. Which would you call your real home, Chicago or Phoenix now?
Well, either one is my real home.
Yeah.
So
home wherever you are.
Either one is my real home. As there's an old saying, go everywhere I hang my hat is my home, sweet home.
You have been discussed quite a bit in the news lately, and possibly he was more interested in serving his own interests than a cause.
Well, I believe that he really wanted to be that which God had not made him to be.
The period since your organization's gathering in Chicago, a great deal has happened, both in regard to your organization and a great many racial organizations. A lot of segregationists nowadays, including the Ku Klux Klan, say that organizations like the NAACP and CORE are filled with communists. What do you think of this charge? Have you an opinion on this?
I don't know anything about communists. I never was one myself. Don't expect to be one. And therefore I can't say anything about another man's belief. And even his practice, if it's something other than what I have. I can't say anything about it unless it involves or clashes with the truth. Then I goes to work to try to defend that truth that I believe in and that I preach. And as far as the segregation and the Ku Klux Klan preachings, teachings, they are an old organization that has been, according to history, they dates way back.